Hello, San Leandro. My name is Michaela, and I'm here with Megan Stevenson, San Leandro's Risk and Emergency Manager. If you didn't know, this Thursday, October 17th, is the Great Shakeout, and we want to make sure that our community is prepared for earthquakes and emergencies. So today, we're going to be learning about important tips that will help to keep you safer. Megan, can you start with telling us a little bit about how you got into emergency management?
Yeah, so I grew up in Washington, and I think emergency preparedness was sort of just ingrained in the culture there. We had big earthquakes and all sorts of storms that knocked out the power left and right. But I remember being a little kid and walking home by myself and having no way to get a hold of my parents, and the school just released us. So I think for me, that was sort of that pivotal moment of being like, oh, this is really important. And then when I graduated college, I think Hurricane Katrina had happened, and that's sort of where I got pulled in for a job. So that was sort of the history of it, but I've been involved ever since, and when I moved to California, it's been really ingrained in the culture here as well, especially for earthquakes.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to say, unfortunately, many of us Californians are not strangers to earthquakes. What are some of the steps that we can take before an earthquake even happens?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is to have a plan with your family, your friends, whoever you live with, the people you take care of. Make sure that you have a route to get out of your house, or if you're at work or wherever you spend the most time, and you know how to get to someplace safe, especially if it's an earthquake. It may be different. And the most important thing is just to make sure you don't run during an earthquake, but you're doing the drop, cover, and hold on to something sturdy. I think the other part of that, too, is if you're outside, some of us work outside, it's also really important not to be close to big buildings full of glass or other things that could fall on you, power lines, all of that. So really being aware of your where you work and where you spend most of your time. And then also making sure you're connected to the right people. Do you have those phone numbers written down somewhere? Do you have AC alerts? Are you signed up for Nixle? All of those different resources are a huge help.
And then kind of immediately after feeling an earthquake, what do you do from there?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. So, like, let's say you were driving in your car and there was an earthquake. You'd pull over during the actual shaking. But once it stops, it really becomes about situational awareness. You want to make sure that you stay underneath a desk or wherever you're at till it completely stops shaking. Wait a few seconds before you even get out, because aftershocks are real and they can happen pretty quickly. But it does sometimes give you enough of a window to get out of a building and assess what the situation is. A lot of places, if you are in an office building, will have you all meet in a parking lot outside. But if you're in your own home and it has not been retrofitted, it's a good thing to go outside and actually see what is the condition of the building.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's pretty obvious that it is not safe anymore. So those are really the initial things. And then, of course, checking in with your family after an earthquake. Like, are you okay? Do we need to come get you? A lot of schools and other organizations will have protocols for how they will reach out to you.
And I think there can be a lot of misconceptions about the appropriate actions to take. And I have heard over the years that one of the best places to be in an earthquake is like underneath the doorway. Is that true? Is there any other misconceptions that you can clear up?
So I'm not exactly sure what the history was for that, but there is an old photo of a building that collapsed, I think in South America, where the only thing that was standing was an arched doorway. I think construction in the U.S. is a little bit different. So we actually recommend that you get under a sturdy desk, some sturdy piece of furniture. Doorways are risky because you're going to be running for it, but also they're not always the sturdiest thing to get under. Most of the injuries and deaths that we've seen in earthquakes recently have been from people who were not under something secure or who were moving around during an earthquake. One of those was a TV that fell on someone. So there's all sorts of things that you really need to do to prepare your space ahead of time. Make sure your paintings and anything that's big is actually secured to the wall and won't move, especially if you're sleeping under it. Or if it's a really heavy object that's high up, make sure you move those down. That's the easiest thing you could do right now.
That's a good tip. And how can residents participate in the Great Shakeout this Thursday?
Yeah, so what we're really trying to get people to do in their organizations, schools, whatever, is make it become a habit. Every year in October, that last Thursday, do the muscle memory of getting underneath a desk, hold on, and actually really hold on to the desk. Because part of the reason we say that is because the objects that you could be underneath, including like a chair or something, has moved away. If the earthquake is big enough, it will shake right off of you. So it's really important to make sure that you practice that and that you know where those places are, especially if it's your desk, if it's at school, you know where you're going to go, if you're in a restroom, and if there's nothing around, just making sure that you know to find a safe space where nothing will fall on you.
What types of resources can San Leandro residents go to for, you know, earthquake emergency preparedness and just learn more maybe about like toolkits or just ways to prepare?
Yeah, I think one of the first things I would recommend is the shakeout.org website. They're really good as far as teaching you how to do the drill itself, but then they also link to all sorts of different resources that can help you prepare your home and even do retrofits structurally to buildings. There's all sorts of other resources and other general preparedness. I'd actually recommend ready.gov, which is a federal government website that links to all sorts of resources and videos too. So, and the city of San Leandro has our own website as well. It just kind of depends on what you're looking for, and if you're looking for info on go bags to keep in your car or at work or at home, there's all sorts of resources there. It's really important to take this time of year to refresh and make sure that your preparedness supplies are fresh and that you have food, water, first aid kits, maybe an extra pair of glasses, an extra pair of shoes in your car, and a jacket. So make sure that you've really like taken this time. And preparedness month is September, but October also gives us that focus on earthquakes and getting ready.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Megan. I have learned a lot, and I hope that everyone watching did as well. If you want to get more information and updates like this, then make sure that you follow us on our social media platforms like Facebook and Instagram, and you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we hope that you have a great day.